Hi students, it's me, Mrs. Louderback, here again to help you with your learning. Today what we're going to focus on is writing to Sri Lanka Part 1. So we're going to work on our first writing piece for the unit, our paragraph, which is an assessment point, so we want to make sure we're doing everything we can to get a good grade on this. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to add key concepts 1 and 4 into our plate motion interactive notebook. So I have my notebook pulled up here, and we finished our chapter 1 question, what is the Earth's outer layer like? So we're going to add all of the key concepts because we've done the learning materials for this, for answering this question already. So we just need to understand the takeaway, the whole point of those lessons we've been looking at. So key concept 1 is that Earth's outer layer is made up of solid rock, and it probably should also be hard solid rock. Okay. Then key concept 2, Earth's outer layer is divided into sections called plates. Key concept 3, geologists look for patterns in landforms and geologic events in order to better understand the Earth. And lastly, key concept 4, the plates of Earth's outer layer move on top of a soft solid layer of rock called the mantle. So we're going to take all of this information and we're going to work on making our paragraph in Google Classroom. All right, I have right here the Writing to Sri Lanka report. You're going to open it up and we're going to work on our writing piece. We want to make sure that we have both the Google Doc that we're writing on and our plate motion notebook open at the same time to help us work through our learning today. So the doc starts off with like, hello engineering interns. In order to understand how plate motion causes tsunamis and people of Sri Lanka need to have a basic understanding of Earth's outer layer. The World Ocean Administration, WOA, that's the company that you are working for right now, would like you to provide a written explanation about the surface of the Earth. You need to provide detailed information that is easy to interpret. So we have our chapter 1 question that we're going to answer to the people of Sri Lanka. What is Earth's outer layer like? We need to make sure that we state a claim identifying the outer layer, use evidence from our observations of labs and simulation to support the claim, incorporate information from our plate motion notebook, include all 4 key concepts, provide a concluding statement reviewing everything that we've looked at, and then, as always, incorporate the vocabulary words listed below. And those are plate, surface, mantle, and earthquakes. So at the end of our paragraph, we want to make sure we highlight those inside. All right, so we're going to complete the writing frame first and then copy and paste those sentences here into our paragraph. And I kind of already have you started with the first sentence, Earth's outer layer is. So in our writing frame here, we can start with that. Our first description is the type of rock Earth's surface is made of. See key concept 1. So we know that Earth's outer layer is made up of, and if I go to my Amplify notebook, hard, solid rock. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I write that down. Hard, solid rock. And we know this to be true throughout our learning lesson. And so this is where we're going to start describing how it's made of hard, solid rock. Okay, then the next little sentence frame is describe how the surface of the Earth is. So I'm going to go to key concept 2. The Earth's outer layer is divided into sections called plates. So I'm going to add that into ours. But I don't want my sentence to be the same starting words. So I have here like the Earth's outer layer is made up of hard solid rock. I don't want to include that in here as well. Earth's outer layer is divided into sections. So I'm just going to start that the surface. I'm going to do a different sentence starter. The surface of the Earth is divided into sections called plates. Okay. And then there's that vocab term. So I could go ahead and highlight that vocab just so that I know it's in there and I have less work to do later. I might want to also include that, looking at the map of the plate boundaries, that most of the plates have continents on them. It's a nice little added description to help with your, to describe to the people of Sri Lanka that, hey, the earth is divided into sections called plates, and on those plates are typically continents, all right? Now we have to define plates. Okay, so we want to make sure that the people of Sri Lanka know what plates are. And we're not just talking about like dinner plates, we're talking about those large chunks of landmass. So if I go to my Amplify notebook and I go to the glossary, I have my definition right here. Notice it's just the definition. So it's important that when you do this, you also make a sentence out of this, okay? So you'll put the definition into your plates here and make it into an actual phrase. So basically, it could be something as simple as plates consist of one of the very large sections of hard solid rock. I'm just going to copy in there. Plates consist of, I'll just delete this. Okay, next, describe the difference between rock that is made up of plates and the rock that's made up of the mantle. So here, in this sentence structure, it wants me to describe the type of rock that is the plates versus the type of rock that's made up of the mantle. So the rock that makes up the plates, and then I'm going to enter just below here and add the rock that makes up the mantle, because we're comparing the two. So I'm just doing my sentence starters here. So these are just sentence starters, the rock that makes up the plates, the rock that makes up the mantle. So now I need to figure out what type of rocks make up the plates versus what type of rocks make up the mantle. And it's telling me to go to slides 6 and 7. So I go back to my plate motion. I'm going to go find slides 6 and 7. And this is the lab that we looked at in both the simulation and with the silly putty and cube. So it says here to figure out how plates move, we need to learn more about the layer just below the plates. What does it mean to be a soft solid rock, and how is it different from a hard solid rock? So we're going to explore the two materials to determine which one makes up the mantle and how it's different from the plate. Notice how when I'm going back to these slides, I'm rereading the information and I'm kind of refreshing my mind a little bit about what we did in this activity, what we did in the learning. All right, so that's something you're going to have to do as you go through and do your writing. So I'm going to look here, and I have this little image here to refresh me of what we did in the simulation, and then I have the silly putty and the cube, and you should have observations here from your lab. Okay, so I need to recognize that the mantle is the soft solid material, and the plates are the hard solid material. So my observations. All right, my observations here need to be taken to the paragraph. Okay, so I intentionally did not write my observations because I want you to use your own observations from this lab. So basically, you just need to make sure that you have some sort of sentence stating that the plates, the rock that makes up the plates is hard, solid rock that consists of, and then this is where your observations come in, okay? So you need to type in your observations, all right? And then you have your next sentence. The rock that makes up the mantle is a soft solid and then again, you have your sentence for your observation, okay? All right, so moving on, we have discussed the reading of the drilling sites, slides 8 and 9. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to find slides 8 and 9. So slide 8 was investigating Earth's outer layer at drilling sites. So we know that the Earth as a whole is made up of different systems. Those systems are designated into parts called spheres. Okay, one way scientists learn about Earth's outer layer is to use large drills to collect samples of the land below. A core sample is one way that scientists can learn about the interior of the Earth. From these core samples, scientists can make a special visual representation called cross sections. And then in slide 9, you had to pick 2 of these drilling sites and examine the cross sections to answer the questions. Is the Earth's surface covered with the same material? What is different about each drilling site? And what is the same for all of the drilling sites examined? If you filled these out in sentences, you've done an excellent job. You can just copy and paste these into your writing piece right here. The only thing that I ask is you tell me specifically which drilling sites you read in your paragraph, okay? So it's as simple as starting the sentence as, we investigated the drilling sites, right? And then you want to tell me which sites you looked at. I'm going to just put in parentheses here and name the sites, okay? And then you want to tell me what you found from these questions, all right? Were they covered in the same material? What was different about each site? Maybe that they were all different locations throughout the world. What is the same for all the drilling sites? That kind of ties back into key concepts. 1, that the Earth, the entire Earth, is made up of hard, solid rock. And again, that's what you should have picked up in the video as well. All right, so once I've done that, and if you don't have these slides in your notebook, you're going to have to go back to Google Classroom to find them. But once I have that down, I'm now going to go to the next writing frame, the next sentence in my writing frame, and it is describe any patterns that occur at the plate boundaries, slide 13 and key concept 3. So if I go to, I'm going to start with maybe key concept 3 just to refresh my mind, and that's geologists look for patterns in the land and geologic events in order to better understand the Earth. So let me just do that right here. All right, so there's key concept 3. So now I need to go to 13, slide 13. All right, so slide 13, all right, had to do with plate boundaries and our map of earthquakes. And I should have discovered, let me make a copy here. I should have discovered that anywhere along a plate boundary, we are likely to see an earthquake. Okay, so there's a pattern here between where the plate boundaries are and where earthquakes are likely to occur. So all these little dots are locations of earthquakes, and the red lines are plate boundaries. So do I see any patterns? Yes, anywhere there is a plate boundary, there is likely, I don't know, I don't like there. Sorry, thinking out loud can be challenging sometimes. So anywhere there is a plate boundary, earthquakes are likely to occur. There, I like that better, okay. I also want to remind you that a plate boundary is a location where 2 or more plates meet. So in area A, we have 2 plates here. Area C, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 plates. Okay, so that's kind of where I want you to be familiar with. A plate boundary is anywhere we have 2 or more plates meeting. Okay, so then, you know, this is all information that's also found here. So if you did your sentences correctly, you know, took the time to write what do you notice about where earthquakes are and the patterns, you can copy and paste these sentences into your writing frame here. Okay, I kind of did mine on the spot because I didn't have any sentences. So, you know, learn your lesson. If you do the work ahead of time, you don't have to think like Miss Lauterbach does and refresh your mind a little bit. Okay, now the next section in the writing frame is what causes earthquakes and define earthquakes. So let's start with the basic definition. That might be the easiest. So I'm going to go to my glossary. Okay, earthquakes is the sudden shaking of the Earth's surface. Okay, so earthquakes are the sudden shaking of the Earth's surface. Okay, and what causes them? That is a good question, and that's kind of the whole point of this whole unit. What causes them? Well, we find in our map, right, a plate boundary is where earthquakes are likely to occur. And when I did the simulation, related to the plate boundary in class, right here, the plate boundary, you were asked, does plate motion cause earthquakes or do earthquakes cause plate motion? And this is slide 14, all right? And looking at the sim, I should have realized that claim 1 is the better claim. So if I had written my sentence correctly here, plate motion causes earthquakes because I'm going to copy and paste that into this structure as well. And I should make sure I should also add like slide 14 here for you, because that is a nice little hint there. Okay, so plate motion causes earthquakes. When the plates move along the mantle, they can trigger energy to be released, shaking the earth. All right. And then the last thing we need is a concluding statement on plate motion. So our concluding statement on plate motion, we now have to tie in all of this information into one basic statement, okay? So I would like to start with a concluding like transition. So like in conclusion, or furthermore, therefore, all right? Therefore, the earth is made up of, and I'm going to say plates because we now have that description. Plates that, and what are those plates doing? Remember, our whole unit title is called plate motion. So the earth is made up of plates that move, causing earthquakes, that geologic hazard, to occur. There we go. So now that I have this down, what I'm going to do now, all right, is I'm going to go back through and, I have these vocab words. I want to make sure that I'm highlighting these vocab words within my sentences. Mantle, there's the mantle right here. Make sure I highlight that. And then earthquakes. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste all of these into my paragraph up above. And I want to make sure that these are a paragraph. Now, you want to actually highlight the whole sentences, because if you try to copy and paste the cell here, it'll just copy and paste the cell like that. So you don't want to do that, all right? So make sure you copy and paste the actual sentences, okay? And then here's the other thing I want to tell you, all right? So I've done a couple sentences already. Make sure, if I were to do the next one, okay, I want to make sure that I proofread, because one, it doesn't look very professional having two different texts, all right? Two, there's no period between here. So I want to make sure I proofread that all my grammar is correct. So once I copy and paste all my sentences in, I would just select a font, size 12, and make sure that it is Arial or Times New Roman, and it should adjust it for you, okay? If it doesn't, you might need to do a little bit of tweaking just to keep it consistent. All right. So that's pretty much it in terms of your paragraph. And then you're going to make sure you click Turn In. There's also a rubric. It's always good to revisit what that rubric is so that you know the information that's going to be given to you and you know how to get the grade. All right. Other than that, have a good day. Bye.